Okay, I'd like to call the January 10, 2022 council meeting to order at 6 p.m. Kitty Hawk Town Hall. We've got a large number in attendance tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank those who are watching at home. If you would, if you're able to stand, join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We would like to note, Lynn, that Mr. Starkey Sharp is here tonight as council's attorney in the place of our attorney, Casey Vernell. Council, I need a motion to approve the agenda, adding item 9E pertaining to the police station. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve the consent agenda, including 9E.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's time for public comment. I think we've got a large number here that wishes to speak tonight. Lynn, how many do you have signed up to speak?
We have 7.
Okay.
And there may be more that
Okay.
have not signed up yet.
And before we start, you may all be speaking on one subject, different subjects. Doesn't matter. We're here to hear each one of you speak. If there's a group that's talking about the same subject and you would like to maybe appoint yourself a spokesman to come speak, that'll be fine too. We don't want anybody waiting out in the cold weather tonight. So, okay, Lynn.
Chris Cashin.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Chris Cashin. I'm the owner of the Preserve in Kitty Hawk, which is the RV park that operates in the VR3 zone of Kitty Hawk. And I'm speaking with regards to the agenda item 8A tonight, where you will be deciding whether or not to allow RV parks in the VR3 zone. And as owner of the only RV park in that zone, I'd like to just speak a little bit to that proposal. As you know, since they aren't allowed, the Preserve is a legal non-conforming use. And I've owned the property for 4 years now, and I've been talking with Mr. Testerman about how I could make it conforming and perhaps even expand the park because I do own the adjacent property. And so I've been looking for ways that I could make that happen. And that was news to me when I learned that RV parks are going to be voted on today. I learned a couple months ago, and I attended the last meeting just to understand what the proposal was. And my position is absolutely, I would love for you to allow RV parks into the zone. The other elements of what is being asked for, one of the things is that it limits the use, or it basically says you can't stay in an RV space for longer than 90 days. I can just tell you that 95% of the people that are in my RV park stay for longer than 90 days. They are long-term rentals. So the proposal as it's requested right now would basically exclude my park. So you'd be allowing RV parks except for the one that already exists in VR3. And so I pretty much could not use my property to expand it and to allow other spaces in my RV park. So I guess the long story short is trying to understand the way forward to work with my property. In 2017, the previous owner asked to be able to expand into mobile homes, and at that point, the council decided it wasn't an appropriate use of property then if I can't expand my long-term RV rentals to my adjacent property, and that's also not allowable in the new RV rules. Essentially, I don't have a way forward to do something with my property. that already is entered through an RV park. So my question is just what is allowable moving forward with the land that I own? And like I said, I'm all for allowing RV parks. I just would like for them to also allow them to be long-term rentals.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Caston.
Thank you.
And just for your information, what we have before council tonight is a text amendment regarding language. We are not voting on a specific site. We don't have any plans, anything. If that was to come up, would have to go through the planning board and council. All we have tonight is language.
And I understand that.
Okay? Thank you, sir. Anyone else signed up to speak regarding this subject or about anything?
Dusty Rhodes.
Come on up, Dusty. And folks, please limit your comments to 3 minutes apiece. That would be great.
Good evening, Mayor Garris,
Hello, Dusty. How are you, sir?
fellow council members. I'm here to speak on item 9C, which will be the memorandum of understanding with the Dare County Game and Wildlife Commission concerning the duck pond. I primarily use the Dare County boat ramp back in the village to come and go for recreation, fishing, and boating, as well as commercial fishing, to launch and retrieve my boat. And I just want to let you know that I do support the moratorium of understanding with Dare County Game and Wildlife Commission concerning the issue of the duck lines in and out of the waterways in Kitty Hawk and outside the mouth of these ditches. And that's all I need to say this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Lynn, who's next?
Wyatt Casper.
How's everybody doing?
Hello.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody here for bringing the situation on the duck blinds to the town of Kitty Hawk for public comment. And I'd like to say, as a full-time commercial fisherman and a native of Kitty Hawk, I do think the duck blinds here in Kitty Hawk is starting to get out of hand. I fish here full-time, got gear in the water all year round. I think it is a little bit of a hazard to boaters and my gear itself. And I am a full supporter of the 1,000-yard moratorium in Kitty Hawk Bay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casper. Lynn?
Gil Terry.
I'm Gil Perry, 1090 West Kitty Hawk Road. I just wanted to say I support the moratorium for bonds, just because of the being able to get in and out with boats and stuff. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Next?
Terry Pruitt.
Hello, Mr. Perry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Perry Pruitt, and I'm here tonight to express my support for a moratorium of duck lines at Kitty Hawk and a 1,000-yard buffer being placed from the shoreline. First and foremost, I'm in support of this moratorium for many different reasons. I support it first from a public safety perspective. I'm sure you're all aware that there's been an increase of these duck lines in the last few years in the waterways in and out of Kitty Hawk. And as an avid user of these waterways myself, and also a hunter, I did notice the immediate potential threat to the non-hunters using these waterways. With the increasing amount of year-round residents and the tourists that are visiting Kitty Hawk and using these resources, the additional granting of these hunting locations will only increase that risk. Secondly, I support it from a tourism perspective. As I already stated, that being an avid user of these waterways, I noticed firsthand the dramatic increase of visitors and new residents using these waterways in the last few years. Between the kayak tours, recreational boating, fishing, stand-up paddles, the list goes on. The never-ending tourist season has really seemingly become the new normal, and the traffic of the waterways is right behind it. With the resources being used more frequently in a year-round manner, the waterways, which used to be pretty much deserted in the hunting season, have become really populated. And although they already provide a risk, this will really just make it an additional risk. Additionally, blinds being permitted in close proximity to residential areas could also influence someone negatively from either purchasing a home or visiting a home in Kitty Hawk. And thirdly, I support it from a commercial fishing perspective. As a third-generation commercial fisherman, my family has relied on the waters of Kitty Hawk to make our income, and this is also the way of life I plan to continue. And with additional duck lines being placed at an increasing rate with no clear end in sight, I firmly believe that enough is enough, and the construction of these duck lines has got to stop. If the duck lines continue to be constructed to no end in sight, at these areas in which we rely for our source of income, we're going to be either forced to give it up or go somewhere else outside of Kitty Hawk. But I really hope I've shed just a little bit of light on a few reasons that I personally believe that the moratorium on duck lines and the 1,000-yard buffer, the citizens of Kitty Hawk, would benefit the citizens of Kitty Hawk and the vacationers alike. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Lynn?
Trey Luke,
Hello, Trey.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, sir.
Appreciate it, having us here and being able to express our feelings on this. I'm a resident of Kitty Hawk, grew up in Dare County my whole life, avid fisherman, hunter, commercial fish. And I'm completely for this moratorium on this 1,000-yard buffer. Like Perry said before, just be a lot more hazard than what we think. We just keep putting these blinds everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of nighttime people riding around, stuff like that. Early in the mornings, it's going to be too much going on. It's just enough's enough at some point. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Anyone else signed up, Lynn?
yes. Tim Beecher,
Mayor Castle,
Hey, Tim.
thank you for having this meeting tonight and on this on the agenda. I dressed this way just in case y'all wouldn't be able to see me. So. But I just wanted to speak in favor of the moratorium for duck lines. I have Earth Resources and Dock of the Bay Marina on the Kitty Hawk Bay, and I understand some duck lines were being proposed to be placed right beside our barge channel. We have barges that come in and out of there. The barges themselves, when they tow them out, are about 400 feet, and they might have another 400 feet of line on them behind there when they're, if the wind's blowing, just to keep the barges off of them. And if a duck line gets placed anywhere near that channel, it's going to be dangerous for the blind, the duck hunters, the equipment on those barges. Also, we have the marina in there and the boat ramp on the same road as Bob Perry Road, and now there's duck lines on that canal that goes from the boat ramp out to the bay, and you have the hunters in there setting their decoys early, and if any more duck lines just get stacked anywhere in Kitty Hawk, it's really going to become a problem. With technology and the interest in hunting, it's like everybody is trying just to find every little corner just to stick a duck line, and there has to be a little more thought put into it. So thank you for considering a moratorium on the duck lines.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Next.
that is all that have signed up.
If anyone else wishes to speak at public comment, please state your name and address, please, sir.
My name's Zach Coyle. I live at 3900 Port Ridge Road. I'd just like to state to everybody in here, I highly agree with everybody's statements and what everybody said. I understand there's a lot of boaters and everything like that. I would just also like to state on the record that over 90% of the people that have spoken on this and don't want blinds within the 1,000 yards of a shoreline all either have access to a blind that's within 1,000 yards of the shoreline or owns them. I just wanted that stated for the record so everybody knows.
Thank you, Zach. Anyone else wishes to speak about at public comment about any topic, any subject? Okay, we've had a lot of speakers about the duck blind. Obviously, we will be discussing this later on in the agenda. You're welcome to stick around if you like, or you can depart, whatever you would like to do. We will be discussing this later on. Okay, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
All approved?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. We had no items removed from the consent agenda. So item 7A, can I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Rob, it's yours. We're in public hearing.
The first item we got tonight is text amendment to section 42-414B, specific special uses within the planned commercial district. The applicant has proposed a text amendment that would add multifamily dwelling developments as a special use in the planned commercial developments, PCD, with a maximum density of 14 dwelling units per acre. PCDs, as defined in the ordinance, are intended to provide developers with an option by which they can achieve flexibility of design, the integration of mutually compatible uses, and optimum land planning with greater efficiency, convenience, and amenity than may be permitted as of right under other parts of the zoning ordinance. PCDs can be approved within the BC1, BC2, BC3, and BH1 zoning districts in town. If certain site requirements are met, PCD must be at least 5 contiguous acres in size with not less than 500 feet total road frontage on US Highway 158 or NC Highway 12, except that portions of the site may be separated by a public or private rights-of-way not more than 60 feet in width. Currently, multifamily dwellings are permitted as a special use in the BC1 district with a maximum density of 10 dwellings per acre. And multifamily dwelling developments are permitted as a special use in the BC2 district with maximum density of 10 dwellings per acre. The proposed language to the PCD district, overlay district, would be in conflict with the standards currently permitted as a special use in BC1 and BC2. However, section 42-412 in the PCD ordinance states that should there be any conflict between PCD development standards and the standards elsewhere in the zoning ordinance, the PCD standards shall apply. Therefore, approval of the text amendment would have no impact on what's permitted in the BC1 and BC2 districts outside of any planned commercial developments. 42-414A states that the permitted and special uses of the underlying zoning districts within the PCD are the permitted and special uses within the PCD. 42-414B outlines additional special uses that are permitted in PCDs, which currently include miniature golf course and retail sale of Christmas trees. Currently, a PCD in the BC1 district could have a multifamily dwelling at 10 dwellings per acre, and a PCD in the BC2 could have multifamily dwelling development, more than one multifamily building at 10 dwellings per acre. Approval of the text amendment would allow multifamily dwelling development in any PCD at 14 dwellings per acre, but it would not affect any of the other commercial areas outside of the PCD districts. I have got on the screen there, that's just to show the 3 planned commercial developments that we have in town. Over here on the left side is the promenade area, right when you come off the bridge. The blue area here is where we recently approved the PCD, the new 7-Eleven and the large lot behind it. And the green being Home Depot and a portion of the Beechwoods in the back. So the text amendment that you'll be deciding on tonight or discussing tonight, as of now, only applies to those 3 areas in town. Again, with it being applicable to the planned commercial development, should the text amendment be approved, prior to any multifamily dwelling development being approved, the site would first need to be large enough to meet the PCD requirements. As I mentioned, the 5 acres and 500 feet road frontage on 158 or 12. It would have to go through a PCD pre-application conference, conceptual review, followed by a preliminary development plan and site plan approval, final development and site plan approval. and then the special use permit for the multifamily dwelling in the PCD. So that's assuming a new planned commercial development's ever applied for. So there's a lot of steps, a lot of times that council and planning board would have their eyes on it before anything would be under construction or approved. The special use review and public hearing would fall under the preliminary development plan and the site plan approval. Section 42-419 lists the specific standards and requirements that each PCD must adhere to regarding lot coverage, buffers, building height, and again, reference the map up here. One thing kind of wanted to go through that we talked about at the planning board level. The proposed increase in density, when looking at the proposed site, you're not really going to see a difference like looking at the site of it. The site's going to be determined by lot coverage, building height, and the Dare County Environmental Health is going to tell the developer how many bedrooms they can have on site. And most likely they're going to put however many bedrooms they're allowed to. The text amendment is just determining how those multifamily dwellings are configured on the inside. The goal of the applicant is to be able to provide some smaller units, more of the two bedrooms, 3-bedroom type, rather than having mostly 4 bedrooms in order to bring some rental costs down. The planning board, we reviewed this initially at the November meeting. We had some absences there. I think we had a meeting was on a Wednesday night due to a holiday, and I think there was some miscommunication. That resulted in a 2-2 tie vote, so we reconvened in December, and the planning board voted 3-2 to recommend denial of the proposed text amendment. That's really all I've got. If you've got any questions for myself, the applicant is here as well. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so even though the number of dwelling units is increasing, we basically have the same density, same footprint, correct?
Right, because the approval from the health department would dictate the number of bedrooms that would be allowed on site. And our ordinance, it's going to be a 35-foot tall building maximum, no matter what. Lot coverage for the PCD is 50%. That does not count roads and sidewalks, so that would remain unchanged. Parking is 1 parking space per bedroom, so that doesn't have any bearing on the density. It's whatever the health department applies or approves for the number of bedrooms.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Rob? Go ahead, David.
I mean, I'm just following along. I mean, well, I'll stop there, but the building itself doesn't change. Like you said, the health department determines the bedroom sizes and all that, so I don't have a problem with it. Okay. So.
I'm fine.
Rob? Excuse me. Yeah?
No, I had previously spoken earlier this week with Rob.
All right. Charlotte, any
No,
questions
no
for
problem.
Rob? Okay. Is the applicant here tonight? Come up, sir, and state your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Eddie Goodrich, and I'm the applicant tonight. Rob explained it as thoroughly as anybody could. I'm really not asking for anything that the ordinance doesn't allow already, just a different way to do it, and to do it better for that matter. The units per acre, number of bedrooms is what counts.
Okay.
And I'll do my best to make it a credit to the community. It's a good location, and I think it'll end up being a good place for young people to live and work in Kitty Hawk as well as the rest of the county.
Thank you. Council, any questions from Mr. Goodrich?
No, I think anytime we can provide some extra housing is a good thing.
All right.
So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we need a motion to go back into regular session, please.
I'll make a motion to go back into regular session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, council, what do you want to do? I'm kind of thinking with David, if we can just put one small dent in the housing problem I think we need to go for it, but any discussion?
I would just like to make a quick comment.
Sure.
There was a lot to this, and so people that have read the paper and see a split decision on the planning board, it's a tough decision on the planning board, and I just, I appreciate the hard work that they put into this. And it is, when you think about what's going on here, and it's the same size building with just a different configuration in the interior of it. And it did take me a little while to get my head around it. So for a while I was up in the air about this, but I, like David, once I understood that the density hasn't changed and nothing has changed, most of everything's going to be dictated by other agencies, and so for that reason I am also like David in favor of this.
So,
As long as it's long-term rental, I think that'll be great.
and Dusty, I kind of agree with what Jeff said. I understand the planning board had a lot of conversation on this, and I appreciate y'all discussing it like that. It wasn't clear, but I appreciate that very much. What y'all do.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, sir.
I move to adopt proposed text amendment to section 42-414B3, allowing multifamily dwelling developments as a special use in the planned commercial districts. With a maximum density of 14 dwellings per acre, Town Council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan.
Okay, we got a motion, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Mr. Goodrich.
I want to thank all y'all very much, and the planning board dealt with this. It's a complicated issue, and it is, but when it gets down to it, I'm not asking for more, I'm just planning on doing it differently and better, I think. And it was a difficult decision for everybody, and I appreciate what y'all did. I've got another meeting I have to go to, so I'm going to run there right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, council, item 8A. You know, we've already had the public hearing on this zoning text amendment regarding trailer park regulations. Rob, anything further you'd like to say on this matter, sir?
No. The only thing I'll point out, just so it's clear, that any decision that council makes on this one, if it's an approval, it's not making an approval for any site-specific thing. It's just giving permission to then come back and request a conditional or special use permit at a later point. Just so everyone's clear on that.
Everyone clear on that, okay? Kind of like I said earlier, this is just language only. We're not, for God's sake, we're not voting on any particular site. Okay, council, any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to approve zoning text amendment proposal to amend section 42-1, 42-619, 42-622, 42-275 to amend existing travel trailer park regulations to add a special use in the VR3 high-density village residential district.
Very good. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Charlotte? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Item 8A. Let's go to item 8B, commercial site plan review. This is a piece of property we have dealt with before, a few years ago.
this one is for a retail use at 5201 North Croton Highway. The applicant submitted a site plan for a new 2-story, 7,500 square foot commercial development. 7,000 square feet of that to be accessible to customers. The subject property is presently zoned as BC2 and is vacant and undeveloped at this time. The adjoining property to the south is zoned BC2 containing Amber furniture. The abutting property to the north is zoned BC2 and contains Outer Banks furniture. Across 158 to the west is now vacant medical building complex zoned MS1, and to the east of the subject are 8 lots containing single-family residences, which are all zoned BH1, Beach Hotel. As I mentioned, it's a proposed use for retail use, and it is permitted by right in the BC2 district. The subject parcel is approximately 41,627 square feet, just under an acre, which exceeds the minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet and is less than the maximum lot size of 7 acres in the BC2 district. The total proposed lot coverage is 16,996 square feet. That comes to 40.8%, which complies with the maximum lot coverage of 60%. Open space on the site is 59.2%, which again exceeds the minimum requirement of 25%. The building height is proposed to be 28 feet in height at its highest point, which is compliant with the 35-foot height maximum. You can see on the table in your staff report, it's compliant with all front, rear, and side yard setbacks. The applicant proposes a single 22-foot wide ingress-egress drive off Bird Street right-of-way. The applicant also provides to improve the Bird Street right-of-way up to a distance of approximately 144 feet to the east of the edge of the existing pavement on 158. The proposal does not include connecting Bird Street to the existing portion of the road. Bollards are proposed to prevent any through traffic. As the Bird Street right-of-way is a town right-of-way, approval of the proposed site plan would constitute approval to make the improvements within the right-of-way. I'll kind of zoom in. Let's see. Within the right-of-way, and blocking the street off, not extending all the way through, was part of listening to comments from the, I think it was the 2015 or 2016 site plan approval for the doctor's office. The neighbors to the east of the subject parcel were concerned about increased traffic, so the engineer agreed to not connect the road all the way through, and they've continued that into this site plan. But you can see that there's some site work done in the right-of-way to try to account for some of the stormwater runoff from that Bird Street right-of-way and the adjacent parcels to the east there. Minimum number of parking spaces, 7,000 square feet of retail at 1 per 350 square feet. That comes to 20 spaces plus 4 spaces for employees. The site plan contains a total of 24 parking spaces, including 2 handicap accessible parking spaces. And for retail use, the ordinance requires 1 loading berth per 20,000 square feet of floor area, minimum of 12 by 25. The site plan shows 1 loading berth measured 12 by 28 feet. From our landscaping and buffer ordinance, buffers are not required for this project because although it abuts some residential uses, it's not a residential zone, it's residential uses in a commercial zone. Although it's not required, the applicant has proposed to retain the vegetative buffer. It's a type C buffer, I believe was shown. Sorry, 30% in the staff report is a typo. But you can see the type C buffer that kind of surrounds the property on the site plan there. The dumpster pad's located immediately behind the loading area near the southeast corner of the building. Proposed dumpster pad is screened on 2 sides that must be at least 6 feet tall by a wall or fence, and is screened on the 3rd by the building itself. The outdoor lighting plan has been submitted. It appears to meet all minimum standards outlined by section 42-515. Compliance would have to be site verified once installation is complete. Our code enforcement will go out with their light meter reading and check that and report back. A sign application has not been included in the proposed development, but would require a sign permit before any sign being put up on site. The erosion sedimentation control plan has been submitted, it's currently under review. Approval will be required prior to issuance of any building permits or site development. Prior to construction, a state stormwater permit is required. No building permits would be issued prior to the town obtaining a copy of the stormwater permit, and that's in process right now. The applicants proposed a private septic system for the development. A copy of the Dare County Environmental Health Septic Permit will be required prior to the issuance of any building permits as well. We've talked recently with that rezoning about the 50-foot separation zone between the commercial zones and residential zones. Again, as I mentioned earlier, although there's residential uses behind it, it's in a commercial zone, so that 50-foot separation zone does not apply to this. There is a pocket of wetlands under the jurisdiction of Army Corps of Engineers, shown on the site plan in this region right in here. I have received a copy of the wetland fill permit from the applicant's engineer. And I will just point out that, and the applicant's engineer is on hand, he can get some more technical explanation, but there were a couple of adjacent property owners at the planning board meeting that were concerned about stormwater runoff in the area. And we all know that Lindbergh and Bird Street intersection does collect quite a bit of water. The applicant, their stormwater management pond is going to be intended to collect all the stormwater required by the state from their development. In addition, you can see along the back side of the property, they've kind of created another little retention basin, which is piped under the access and then into the DOT right away. That portion of it, the improvement within the DOT right away would require their approval as well. But they are attempting to take on some of the additional water from adjacent properties, as historically, I guess the properties around it have kind of drained to that wetland area. And I'll probably let the engineer speak a little more on that, but they said the soil borings in the wetland area showed like, I guess, a pretty dense material, almost peat-like material in that. And with their permit from the Army Corps of Engineers, they're going to be able to remove that layer of that dense material, and it's clean sand underneath it. So it should improve the situation in the area. It should be able to drain better. I had Public Works Director Willie Midget. He was not here tonight, but I had him come by and take a look at the plans, and he was confident as well, looking at that it would help that area drain better than what it's currently doing now. Planning Board at their December 16th meeting unanimously recommended approval of the site plan. With that, if the engineer has anything he'd like to add or to be on hand for questions, I'll turn it over to the council.
Council, any questions for Rob right now? I think it's important to note this is a permitted use in the BC2 district, so any questions for Rob?
I will note also, I mentioned that the bollards that were put in place there based off the previous approval of the doctor's office, that was just carried forward, and I pointed out to the planning board, I'll let council know too, that is a town right of way through there. If the town council wanted to open that up, it's within the town's right to do so. The applicant just showed it the way he did to take into consideration the comments from the previous site plan review.
Very good, thank you. Is the engineer here? Would like to say anything? Engineer? State your name and address. Affirm, please, sir.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
To the council. My name is Michael Strader. I'm an engineer with Whiteman Associates. I'm the civil engineer of record for the commercial site plan submitted before you this evening. As you heard previously in the staff report, The proposed use is a by right use within the zoning district. The plans submitted before you demonstrate compliance with the town's dimensional standards specified in the ordinance and all other state and regulatory agencies. I'd be glad to, and I guess I should reiterate one thing that Rob had said. We did have the benefit of being the engineer of record for a previously submitted commercial site plan, which actually was approved as a conditional use. So we took that feedback that we had during that process and during the previous council meeting and tried to incorporate it to the degree that we could on this plan to hopefully present the best possible plan to you this evening. I'm glad to address any questions, whether it's drainage or Bird Street or any other technical concerns that anyone may have.
My first thought had you referred back, and you have evidently, so we're good there.
Yeah.
Any questions for Michael? Okay, if not, thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, council, what would you like to do in this matter?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the commercial site plan for the proposed retail use at 5201 North Crowtown Highway.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, item has passed. Item 8C, we need to schedule a public hearing regarding dimensional requirements. Thank y'all for coming. Going to have a motion, item 8C.
What are we doing here?
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on February 7th, 2022 to consider the proposed text amendment to section 42-250D7 to allow for reduction in the 50-foot separation area between the residential and commercial zones when certain conditions are met.
Thank you, David. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, public hearing set. Item 8D, public hearing needs to be set for definitions of lot coverage. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on February the 7th, 2022 to consider the proposed text amendment to section 42-1 to allow for 500 square foot of pool surface area to be exempted from lot coverage calculation.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing set. Now we're down to new business. Item 9A, we need a liaison to the Recreation Committee. I've talked to Charlotte about this prior. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Charlotte Walker as the council liaison to the Recreation Committee.
Second.
Any more nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Charlotte, it's yours.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9B, consideration and condemnation of property. Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This piece of property is located at 4240 North Virginia Dare Trail. Previously, back in 2019, I believe, or early 2020, the town demolished several buildings on this property. However, the one structure that was not demolished, we were given extra time. We were requested to give some extra time to by the property owner to make the necessary repairs. That hasn't been done. And so now the town of Kitty Hawk is just requesting going through the process of condemnation and demolition of this property if the property is not brought up to code for safety reasons. And this is the property located at 4240, and it's the old Bonanza Hotel property.
Everybody familiar with what piece of property we're talking about? I think you should be.
Andy, Is this building also causing the adjacent property to have issues with insurance and stuff, very similar to the other ones because of how close they are to their building and such shape that they're in?
I believe I don't know about how that the property sits now, but at some point in time, that was an issue. And then also the building wasn't secured, and it's a life and safety issue at this point. And we've given the owner that, I believe the property is owned by a different owner than the actual structure. So we're just looking to demolish the structure. The town would, if they don't comply and bring it up to code, then the town would place a lien on the property, and then upon sale of the property or before they were develop the property or build a house, they would have to pay off those liens. So the lien actually will go on the property.
Is that the same procedure as last time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion?
Have they not been in touch back with the town and the owners? I mean, have y'all had any dialogue whatsoever?
Yeah, I believe Dave has spoken with the owner, but just nothing has been done from the owner. And over the past 2 years, we've been trying to get them to comply, and owner of the building, and we haven't seen any movement.
This has been going on a while.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion for Andy or town staff to move forward in the condemnation of property located at 4240 North Virginia Dare Trail, parcel number 011068000, PIN number 9876155344161.1.
Second.
Second by Lynn. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, Andy, you can proceed. Item 9C. Never did I think I'd be sitting here on council discussing duck blinds. But here we are, and it sounds like we need to be discussing it. It's on our agenda. Time manager Andy has done a lot of work on this. Jeff and David have had a lot of input, especially Jeff. Andy, if you could start us off, please, and then we'll go to Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This topic actually came up at a reserve meeting regarding the location of some blinds that are in the canals, and then I have received several phone calls since that time about blinds that have been put up close to the ditches, as Mr. Beecham has discussed. And so after looking at and I can pull up the map of the duck blind locations around and near Kitty Hawk, it was sort of just determined that it's possibly there's not really a need for any more duck blinds in the area. As everybody knows, as it's been discussed, we've got a lot of recreational users of the local waterways as well, and this has nothing to do with prohibiting the hunting of ducks. It's just the actual physical structures that are being constructed, and may cause some issues in the future if we continue to fit them in. I'll show you a map of the locations of the duck blind in and around Kitty Hawk, and if you look at the map, and you can look at some of these other areas, that there's no duck blinds. So, sort of if the town was to look at anything, as you'll see here, we're kind of requesting a moratorium on the placement of duck blinds within 1,000 yards from the shoreline in Kitty Hawk. I've had a resident that actually owns property along one of the shorelines that has noticed a blind that's placed out in front of their residence. So we're just looking to limit and kind of work with the Dare County Game Commission. They're the ones that obviously permit the location of these blinds. And so what we're hoping to do tonight is get approval from the council to adopt this memorandum of understanding, and then I'll present it to the chairman of the Dare County Commission. And hopefully he'll bring that before their attention on January 13th and see if we can come up with some sort of understanding, which this has been done in a couple other communities and towns. But I'll just show you, the locations of some of these blinds. then I'll open it up for any discussions or answer any questions you have. This is sort of a map they have on the Dare County GIS department has regarding some of the locations of duck blinds. Let's see here. For whatever reason, this looks like there's not as many as there was when I previously looked, but you can see we've got some blinds that have, that have been located in the canals and waterways that lead into Bob Perry Road, and as we grow, we're gonna, obviously we're gonna, residential houses will become closer to these blinds. And then we have some here. I've gotten some calls about some residents along this area that have noticed duck blinds, out in front of their property. And they don't have an issue with necessarily the hunting of the blind. We just want to make sure that as we move forward that, maybe we request the commission to look elsewhere, to be quite honest. I mean, there's a lot of blinds in this area. There's none up here towards the Martins Point area or anything like that. So there are other areas that the Game Commission could permit blinds out in front of Collington. I don't know what the rules are there. But for the town of Kitty Hawk, we're just requesting that they don't place any more blinds within 1,000 yards of our shoreline, which would bring us out, out further out into some of these areas away from the shoreline in Kitty Hawk. So that's basically what the ordinance or the memorandum of understanding does. It would still need to be considered by the Dare County Game and Wildlife Commission. And they are a board that's appointed by the Dare County Commission to permit the location of these duck lines. So we're just looking to say what we have is enough at this point, and there are other means to hunt ducks along the shoreline of Kitty Hawk, but we've got some of the commercial aspects of it, and we've got some of the businesses in Kitty Hawk that could potentially have an issue if some more blinds are located in our ditches or immediately off our shoreline. So sort of where the memorandum of understanding came about, and in a nutshell, that's pretty much what it is. I do have a picture of a blind here in one of our canals, and these are just, blinds. I don't know if there's any, don't believe there's any size blinds that you can build from my understanding. But they have to be within, I believe, 300 or 500 yards of another blind, and that's kind of their guidelines that the Dare County Game Commission goes by. I'm not 100% aware of it. But as you can see, with the amount that we have, we're just looking to ask them to not permit any more blinds. So I'll stand for any questions.
Charlotte, you got a question?
Yeah, so all of the blinds that you just showed are legally permitted blinds, even the ones that are in such a precarious position and causing issues, they're all permitted?
Well, currently the town of Kitty Hawk, I believe there's some representatives that are appointed by the commission, but when they go to approve a blind, they don't ask permission from the town.
Okay.
They're permitted by the state, by law, to allow the location of these blinds. So that's kind of why we went by memorandum of understanding, is because outside of how the board votes, I believe they're willing to work with us, but we'll have to see when we presented this at the January 13 meeting, what their comments are, if they're willing to enter into an MOU. So just because we do this evening doesn't really hold any weight if they say they're not gonna work with the town and recognize our issues.
Jeff?
Let me see, pull that back up. Yeah, all of these blinds are in green, it's my understanding. And of course, there are a lot more down towards the inlet. Must be better duck hunting down that way.
Don't stand a chance.
But there are some areas, that they could look at possibly opening back up. I don't know why these are really shown in red. I'm sure there's a reason. But you could even add some more here up towards the north area, which would be outside of the Martins Point area. And then, there's other areas they can put these blinds. And maybe once those areas are filled up, maybe we could consider opening up the Kitty Hawks. But until then, we're just trying to find a good balance between all the users.
Thank you. And Jeff?
Well, there's a lot of history to this duck blind stuff. It's been going on just for a long time. 15 years ago, Kitty Hawk lost its representative on the Dare County Game Commission. And at that point, we were reappointed a game commission, I guess it would be for our area. Our appointee was not from Kitty Hawk, doesn't hunt in Kitty Hawk, and I don't believe he knows anything about the blinds in Kitty Hawk. So there is 3 representatives. One was for Cabby's Inlet and north of the Currituck Bridge. Then there was a representative from the Currituck Bridge to the center of Kitty Hawk Bay. And then Southern Shores and Martins Point had a representative, and he did very well for them. You can see he did a great job. In 15 years, the new ones that were denied previously have been permitted now because we don't have a say as the town of Kitty Hawk. Our person that knows our area doesn't live in Kitty Hawk, his address isn't in Kitty Hawk, he doesn't own a blind in Kitty Hawk. And so we've been misrepresentative, and I think that's what's going on here. I don't blame a hunter. A lot of these hunters, these blinds that were in this ditch, half of them were told that if you don't do it, somebody else is. And that was true. So it's not their fault. And not to point at any hunters, Zach's here, and by no means are we pointing at somebody's blind or trying to take a blind away. I feel like a lot of these blinds should have never been permitted to cause the heartache of somebody to have to lose a blind. Once you've had one, it hurts to lose one. I know. A lot of blinds have been permitted and moved and pushed around. And I personally think it's caused a lot of problem between fellow hunters, residents, just the whole mess. And I think it's a result of us not having a true Kitty Hawk representative on the Dare County Game Board. And that's how I feel about it. I don't hold any of the hunters to blame because a lot of them were told, and some of them were told by the Game Commission members themselves. If I was you, I'd put a blind here. If you don't, so-and-so's applied for it and I'm gonna give it to them. Not that they even wanted it there. They just said, well, I bet or somebody else is. Well, I mean, that's not really a good way to do it. And I think, you know, I would like to see also, I'm in favor of the moratorium, but I'm also would really love to see Kitty Hawk have a local person on this game board to have a say. Because just because it's 500 yards from another duck blind, but we have one that, if I'm not right, is under the 300-yard limit right now. And when you have a resident that's afraid to take his 2 daughters out, and we have received the email, I mean, you all read the email, then it's time, you know. He even said it's time for you, the politicians of the town to look after us. The hunters are asking us, business people are asking us, so I think it's time we do something. So this is a start. I don't, like you said, it's up to the game board.
How do we get a representative?
So it sounds like maybe we got 2 different issues here. We need a representative.
Yeah. How do we get one?
Well, you have to wait for somebody to, term to come up, and then the Dare County Board of Commissioners appoints that board.
Oh.
Just like they appoint all the other advisory boards. And
But just like the tourism board, you know, they pick somebody from Southern Shore, somebody from Kitty Hawk, somebody from here, somebody from there. Kitty Hawk's representative on the tourism board shouldn't be somebody from Nags Head, nor should our representative on the game board be from somewhere else. I mean,
That's true.
My question is if and I'm a big duck hunter, so, but my question is, if they're going to regulate float blinds, you can't have but a certain amount of them. Why can't you just have a number of whatever of stick-built blinds everywhere? You have 1,000 if you got the room, but you can't have, you know, they have a strict regulation on float blind, right? I just think it needs to be, you know, relooked at. Times change. It could be made better for everybody.
Agreed.
So.
Okay, any further discussion on this matter? Andy, you and Jeff, especially, and David have put in a lot of work on this subject, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. You worked hard on it. I think it's time for a motion. Jeff, I'd like to ask you to make the motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding and present the MOU to the Dare County Game and Wildlife Commission for consideration at the January the 12th, 2022 Game and Wildlife Commission meeting.
Very good, Jeff. Second?
Second.
Charlotte seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, folks, we heard you. We'll see what we can do. Thank you guys very much. Item 9D related to the police station. Then we've got an additional 9E that's been added. I'd like to have some discussion about that before we get there. First, let's talk about 9D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Town of Kitty Hawk Review Committee and Town Council selected Mann's Woodward Studios Incorporated to begin negotiations for architectural services for the new police, fire, and EMS substation, which is to be located on US 158. The council has already approved Task 1, which was the preliminary floor plan design needs assessment. However, this is moving on to Task 2 of this agreement, which basically gets us all the way through construction of the new police and EMS substation and the fire bay that we're looking to construct on this property. The preliminary estimate from the architect represents a total fee of $8.63 of the total cost of the project, including allowances that may or may not be expended. The fixed lump sum fees are within line with other projects recently completed over the past 10 years by Dare County. I've attached some of those projects to the agenda item, as you can see. The approval of this proposal will allow the town to obtain construction documents, bid the project, and allow the architect to administer some of the oversight of the construction. The total amount for architectural, engineering, civil fees is estimated at $621,950. And as I said before, this is in line with other architects that have done other similar projects throughout Dare County. So the town council tonight, the staff would recommend approval of Task 2 of the proposal between the town of Kitty Hawk and Mann Woodward Studios in the amount of $621,950. And the proposal, Task 2, is attached for council consideration.
Any questions of Andy? We'll deal with some frustrations here in a minute. Any questions of Andy? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve Task 2 of the proposal between the town of Kitty Hawk and Mann Woodward Studios Incorporated in the amount of $621,950. Need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Andy. All right, the addition of item 9E related to the police station. I think we're all, I'm trying to say this a nice way. This has been going on a long time. Too long. Nothing has happened. A very frustrated town manager called me Friday afternoon. We talked for a good while on the phone. When the conversation was over, you had two frustrated people. About not getting anything done, about prices going up, about the price of the whole project getting higher than this town can afford. and basically the possibility of killing the whole project. Ended up, we had a meeting this morning with County Manager Bobby Alton at his office at 10 o'clock this morning. That's the reason for this addition right here. Bobby gave us some solutions, not solutions, some problems, some things for us to think about and look at. And then I had a discussion on the way back. And then I talked about what would be possible tonight. He came back and went to work. And I have broken one of my own promises to council tonight. I told you you would never come to a council meeting and there'd be something laying here that you're not familiar with and haven't seen before. But it happened tonight. The reason for it happening, we're looking a few hours at this thing that this happened this afternoon. This is necessary. Andy will go into it a lot further. We still do not have any numbers. So we can decide whether we can go forward with the project. Do we need to cut back some more? I'm not in favor of cutting back anything as far as our police station. We've already done that. Cut it back to the bare minimum, I feel like, so we can afford it. We all know it's necessary, we all know it's needed, and we all know it's not going anywhere. And I am not happy about it. Andy's not happy about it. So Andy, would you like to go through and hopefully by this being done tonight, we can proceed with getting some numbers quicker than we would have before, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So this council can make a decision on what we need to do. I'm tired of that piece of property sitting there and nothing happening to it. We ride by and look at it and it still hasn't been cleared, nothing's been done. So we need to proceed. Does council agree?
Yes.
Okay. Andy, sorry if I vented, but I needed to do it.
Yeah, there's not really any issues. We've kind of, every project starts out where you hire somebody to design the project. And then at that point, the towns, there's only 3 different ways that you're able to actually construct a project in government. And if you look at, all the projects, and that's one of the reasons I copied all the projects that Dare County's done and compared the architectural fees to that, because it does look like a big number, but there's a reason behind it. And there's a lot of things that we have to do that follow state statutes that put these laws in places to where we just can't go out and, it'd be nice to go out and find somebody that can help build the project locally they're even able to, but we're not really able to do that. We have to bid out all of our projects and hire the most qualified person to accomplish the project. With that being said, we have the architect on board. We have a good floor plan. We feel that, like as Mayor Garris has said, that we've cut back as much square footage as possible, but we've also left ourselves enough growth as possible, so when we do build a new police station, we're only going to do this one time probably in the next 60 years, hopefully, or life of the building is my intention, and it'll be here long after we're all gone. What we need to do at this point is we need to really get a construction manager on board, and what this will do is we'll put out an RFQ for construction manager to come on board with the town. They'll be involved of working with the architect, and there'll be the council's representative as well, to discuss things that the council may be able to do with material. And we all know that it's a real volatile market right now with construction materials. They're up and down, so it's really hard to lock in what a cost is going to be for a project a year and a half from now. So that all factors into what we need to finance, what we're able to borrow, what the county has to contribute since they're a partner to the project as well. But the longer we wait, we know that it's not going to probably be any cheaper. So this process is going to bring on a construction manager, and eventually it'll turn into a construction manager at risk, which the person selected for the project will end up at some sort during the phase of the design. We'll be able to say, okay, I can lock in the price at this amount. There's other caveats in the contract with the construction manager at risk that would allow any savings that they can find. The town gets a percentage, and the construction manager at risk would also be awarded some percentage of that up to a certain dollar amount. So their job is to come in, work with the town, work with the architect, form a team in order to get this project built within the town's budget. So the direction that we could head is continue with the architect, let him design the building, try to put it out to bid a year and a half from now, not really knowing the details. I know David and David Lewis and David Hines could help with the process, but I think if we have a person that's going to build the project that can meet with the architect to determine, they'll use local contractors if they're able. This construction manager at risk will. But they'll probably have already built some types of similar facilities that we've seen in Dare County, probably people that are qualified to do this. And then they will provide us a maximum cost of the project. So then at that point, we'll have a number, and we would enter into an agreement with them, and then they would be responsible for constructing the project that's designed. When the construction documents are complete, they would be responsible for constructing the building for that dollar amount. So everybody would know how much funds that we need to complete the project. But we have between now and then, we would bring somebody on board to work with the architect that would be a council representative as well, and could help reduce some of the costs and some of the design expenses if they see something the architect has constructed, or they know that there's a local better material to use down here that's cheaper. Then that's what the construction manager would help us with. So we don't really work out a fee yet. So the only thing we're asking tonight is allow staff to issue an RFQ, and then we would solicit companies that are construction companies that are interested in being the construction manager, and then they would ultimately enter into a contract to construct the project for a certain dollar price not to exceed amount. And then they would also work with us within our budgets and be able to give us advice on how to reduce some of the costs significantly, if need be. So that's really the only thing that we're asking here tonight. Is really not a change. It's really something that if we waited another 30 days to present to council, we'd just be another 30 days behind. And I know that we're ready to get this rolling. The architect has said that if we go this route, it would also speed up the project about 60 days because it gives them somebody that to work with to determine some of the best methods to use here. And so with that being said, the request is just simply to allow the town staff to put out an RFQ for construction manager at risk, and then we would form a committee of some sort to narrow down the candidates, and then the council would select the construction manager, and then we would work out contractual agreements with that company. I've copied you to the benefits of the construction manager at risk, and after speaking with the county manager, they've done these types of agreements for all the bigger projects, and they say that that's the method that they would use versus waiting to the very end, putting something out to bid, and then you get these numbers that you don't know where they came from, or you get a person to bid on the project that's not really qualified to do it, and then they come in with a bunch of change orders, and then we're managing that on the back end. And so he said that the process that has worked the best for the county is this construction manager at risk, and I'm familiar with it, and it's a lot of other municipalities utilize this method to construct municipal buildings, projects of this size.
Dave, thank you, Andy. I know you're familiar. David, any comments, any additions?
I got a lot. Help me understand, where's the county at with what they're doing with their EMS station? Because we need this police station built. We've talked about this to length's end, and there's no movement at all going on out here. This has been going on for a year. I sat in here 6 or 7 months ago talking about with David Lewis and everybody else, and now we're talking about bringing on, a construction manager. I mean, that may work in municipalities, but I mean, where are we at? Why is it taking so long?
First of all, I'd like to thank Bobby Ayton kind of fit us in this morning.
I understand.
And he and his finance, Dave Clausen was there, met with us, He did a great job. He took the time to talk with us. The county is sitting on go. They have been sitting on go. They're waiting on us.
Okay. I'm in favor of doing whatever it takes to expedite this project, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not beyond frustrated with how this is going. And I can't be more serious about that. We've talked about it over and over and over. Our police officers are sitting down there in flooded water when there's storms. I mean, I'm not trying to rehash it all, but I really want to see some movement on this project.
I think according to Andy and Bobby, this is a way to speed up the process.
Okay.
That we haven't had in place before. And I want to compliment Andy. He had this to me within 3 hours from my approval, so council can talk about it, consider it tonight.
And I'm not frustrated.
This is going to do it. This is what's going to do it.
And I'm not frustrated with you, Andy.
I understand your frustration, yeah.
All right, I just.
So the architect is behind hiring this person?
No, the town hires the construction manager.
I thought you said that
No,
the architect was in
we've
favor.
hired the architect, we have our floor plan. The county's gotten their approval to move forward to a certain dollar amount. So now we're just making sure that we need to get the town is gonna have to spend the money to get a set of plans. And if we can't afford it, but we need to have a price is what we're gonna do. This will give us the price way earlier than it will be a year and a half when we bid it out. And then we get prices we're not able to afford. We'll know it well in advance if we go this route, if we hire a company that has done these types of projects before.
More to my frustration, though, is the material prices are such a moving target. You can't even lock material right now for a few days.
Right.
You ask any trade person, subcontractor, hey, how long is your price good for? Today? I mean, that's the environment we're in. And that's why, another reason why I'm frustrated with it.
So this will give us a max, this will give us a max dollar amount at some point in time, sooner than later. So that we'll lock them in, and then if the price is coming up, we'll receive that benefit as well.
No,
So-
I get it. I want to see it.
And we've also got, with everything's like you say, materials, getting materials is so volatile. Some of these larger guys, they won't delay the project. Last time we wanted to hire somebody that, these guys have some of these bigger contractors that do these things, and I don't always think bigger is the way to go, but if there's a contractor that has his own crew that he gets them because they don't want to lose their business, that's sort of where we're at with this. And versus, we don't want to have a delay in the project because the guy can't find somebody to do drywall. Some of these other larger companies, as you know, they've got the crews that they will make it a priority to do that contractor's work because that's where they get their bread and butter. So I think this route, we're going to get somebody on board that is qualified.
And we were told this morning, because of rising prices, we need to proceed, this is part of it, as quickly as possible.
I agree with that.
So that's the reason we've got this tonight.
And their job will be to act as, they'll be able to bid the project as they go. And they will use, if they can use they'll probably use some local contractors for things that they're comfortable using those local, and they'll bid those projects, they'll bid that out. We're able to see the bids.
Okay, but we're going to be able to see that as a continuous thing, correct?
You'll be able to, yes.
Okay, because I definitely want to be looking at that.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And we all know government moves slow, but my God.
I mean,
It's going to give us a manager, a person that's going to be responsible for the construction. That's where we all want to get to.
Yep. Very good. But Andy, thank you for the quick, great work you did on this afternoon. Thank you very much. I need a motion regarding item 9E, folks.
First of all, I'd like to thank you also, Mayor, for taking the time and to really look into this. I know this has been heavy on you, wanting to get this done, and you and I have talked about this for years, and so I understand the frustration David has. You and I have been dealing with this for quite a while.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize town staff to issue a construction manager risk RFQ.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Andy, we can proceed. Thank you, sir, very much.
The only announcements I have this evening is the town is closed in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Trash next week, scheduled deliveries from Tuesday and Thursday. And we, of course, will recess tonight for our budget meeting. Schedule our CIP workshops scheduled for January 31st. If anybody on council has any special projects or things that they'd like to see incorporated, just please email those to me or get with me anytime between now and then, and I'll research those and we'll bring those up at our meeting. As you know, the budget is the financial plan for the town, so that's how you get things done. So if there's anything that you'd like to see, please let me know. And February 7th is large item pickup. So
Thank you, Andy.
that's it. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Starkey Sharp, anything, sir?
Casey did not give me anything to bring to y'all. I'm glad to see you. Enjoyed being with you again. And,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Feels like old times, like I said
No
earlier.
problem.
Glad to have you here.
Very good.
Old times. Okay, comments from town council. I'd like to start, council, if I can. First of all, we've got some committee openings. The Recreation Committee and Board of Adjustment that was Charlotte's position. We've only got one application. Playing phone tag, and while Andy and I were driving to Manio today, I called her back. I've got one applicant who's interested in the Board of Adjustment. I know Charlotte's got some more she's working on. So that's the reason that is not on the agenda tonight, to get us some more time to get some more applications in. We need to vote on this at the February meeting, so we'll be on the February agenda. If you got any suggestions, let us know. And next, this town and this council have lost a dear friend in Mr. Richard Reed in November. Mr. Reed was a former Kitty Hawk councilman. He was a town planner for the town of Kitty Hawk. For 11 years, he was the town planner. He served on town council for 2 terms, 2005 to 2013. Mr. Reed was a good friend to you and I, Jeff, kind of when we were getting started. I don't care when you saw Mr. Richard or Miss Sandy in public, you were greeted with a handshake and a smile, and I'll never forget that. So, Mr. Reed, in your honor, we'd like to thank you for your service. Miss Sandy, our condolences once again. You are still a dear friend to this town, and we hope you're not a stranger. Jeff, I think you want to say something.
Yeah, I do. Richard and Sandy were not only friends of mine, but also friends of my parents, because of my parents' dealings with the town of Kitty Hawk. As Craig said, when you first get into this, in the planning board, it's kind of tough, and you're kind of nervous, and Richard had a way of explaining things to us that made us feel more comfortable, and always, even when maybe I didn't make the right decision, he always said, that's okay, everybody's got a right to your decision. Not only was he a great planner, he was a great councilman. And the reason he was is because he loved Kitty Hawk. Him and his wife lived back in Kitty Hawk Landing. They had retired and now since moved away, but they were a big part of our town. Both of them helped in Heritage Day, everything that they could get involved in. After Richard had passed away, and I was talking to Sandy, she said this was his family, and how much the town meant to him. And I just also, we're going to really miss Richard being around, and I wish. I know Sandy is heartbroken, but her memories and her friends still here. She talks about all of her friends, and she's calling. And so if anybody wants to reach out and give her a ring from time to time, please do.
Thank you, Jeff. Great comment. Thank you. Comments from other council members. Charlotte, do you have anything?
I'm good. Thank you.
Lynn?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
Other than it's cold.
Okay, it's cool. David?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion, we recess this meeting to the January 31st, 2022 Budget CIP Workshop Meeting at 9 a.m. here at the Town Hall. Need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, folks.